Kadosh Boker Or Masechet Bava Kamma Daf Samech Amud Aleph 64a1 says the Gemara when it says Yomar Shor Se Ugneva Vakol Bichlal. Why don't we just say in the pasuk Imimase Yimatze Agana Mishor, but skip out Chamor. Adse Chayim, right? Shnayim Yishalem Vakol Bichlal. Why do I need the Chamor? I don't like Chamorim. You heard? I don't like chamorim. Why do we need a chamor? So he says, Ilu, kach hayiti omer. If he would have said, Ma prat mefurash davar hakadosh bivchora, af kol davar hakadosh bivchora. As ma yesh lecha lavi chamor. Right? So he says, what's going on exactly? Basically like this. If you would have said it's a shor v'seh, it's kadosh bivchora. The bechor, right, is going to be kadosh bivchora. So everything has to be kadosh b'vchora, right? And therefore, that's the only time when you're going to pay kefil. But if it's not going to be kadosh b'vchora, you're not going to pay kefil. So why do you have the chamor? As kishomer chamor, the chamor is actually going to say, right? He says the chamor is already there, which means we already know that the chamor is not going to be kadosh b'vchora. So he says, mani mikayem geneva, the rabo kol dova. So therefore, I need the chamor to exclude kadosh b'vchora, and I then have the word geneva. That's why we have every single part of what we actually need. Okay? So he comes and he says, okay, fine. So now he comes and he says, Yomar shor v'chamor seu gneva v'kol bichlal. He says, okay, fine. So say all these things. Shor, chamor, seu gneva, and everything's included. So why is it that we needed chayim, the word chayim now? So he says, Ilu kachayiti omen. If I would have said, Ma pratam furash, which is going to be shor chamon and se, is ba'alei chayim, they're animals. So too, it always has to be an animal. So ma yesh lecha lavi shar ba'alei chayim. So why? You're going to include other ba'alei chayim. So when you already say chayim, the ba'alei chayim are already said. So what am I going to come and be mekayem begneva? The rabot kol davar. So the word gneva is including everything, which means that the word chayim is including all types of animals, right? And that's what I'm actually learning from chayim. Okay? So Amar More says, Yomar Shor Ugneva, and that's it. Just say Shor Ugneva. So he says, Miktiv Shor Ugneva. It says Gneva and then Shor Ugneva. It doesn't say Shor and then Gneva, right? Because Shor is the Shor, and then the Gneva comes to include everything. It first says Gneva and then Shor. So I can't do that. Because if I say Gneva and then I say Shor, I would have thought that the Shor is minimizing. Meaning, you understand what I'm saying? Meaning that I would have, the fact that you said that, so therefore you can't do that. So he says, "V'chitei." Now you're going to tell me, "Ilu ne'emar ha'amar," right? Meaning, if it would have been written, "Ilu ne'emar shor ugneva," can you say that? Ma prat mefurash hava shor prat and gneva klal. So to prat uchlal. Now say klal mosif al prat. The klal adds on to the prat. Meaning, when you have the prat uchlal, right? So the klal is adding on to the prat. So even if the prat was only a shor, the klal which is afterwards, which is gineva, is everything. Kol davar sheni ginav, anything. So it adds on. So v'yitrabulu is going to add everything. Ela kidichtiv ka'amri, but rather it's like the way that it's written, gineva, and then afterwards shor. So now it became a klal ufrat, right? Klal ufrat, emba klal elamasha beprat. Here it's a minimizing. It's a specification. So he says, Mi matzit amrat, can you say akol bichlal? Or ma prat mefurash? Havel gneva klal v'shor prat. Right? So now what happens is it becomes a klal and then a shor is a prat. Klal ufrat and beklal masha beprat. Shor in midechri. So it's only the shor, nothing else. So that's why you needed everything else. So he says, Amar Rava says, Tana Chayim, right? Kasamichle. He's actually adding on to Chayim because then it becomes a klal ufrat uchlal. Geneva klal. Shor prat, chayim, klal. Okay? So, v'halo dami klala batra, the klala kama. He says, you can't do that. He says, you know why you can't do that? He says, because you cannot add in the meaning. The first klal and last klal are not comparable. You understand what I said? Okay? The first klal and the last klal are not comparable. Chayim and Geneva is not the same thing. Okay, but the Klal Acharon is only Chayim, which is only Bale Chayim. The first one, which is Geneva, is everything. So meaning when you have klals, the klals have to be the same thing. Cannot be the one klal is all one thing and another klal is something else. Okay? That's what we're trying to say. So we have to find out what's going on. So says the Gemara. Do me a favor and open up the door. It's not working. So says the Gemara, Tana Rabbi Ishmael, says Tana Rabbi Ishmael. I did it. So Tana Rabbi Ishmael, he says, the Chiyai Darish Klal Ufrata. He says they do make a Klal Ufrat, even in such a case. Yeah, he comes and he says he does make such a case a Klal Ufrat. He does do it. He says, so this was the question. Why do I have the case of imatzeh tematzeh? Yomar, shor ugneva v'chayim v'akol bichlal. You're going to say shor, gneva, chayim, everything's included. Ilu ken hayiti omer, if I would have said this, ma pram mefurash tavar kol mizbeach, al kol dvar mizbeach, anything which is going to be included in the mizbeach. Okay? So he comes and he says, meaning, if it would have said shor, gneva, v'chayim, everything would have been included. So he says, no, because again, it has to do with the mizbeach. Right? So he says, "Ma yesh lecha lavi se." As kishu omer se, it's already said, "Mani mekayem ben geneva." Rabbi kol davar can include everything. So just say geneva shor se chayim, and everything's included. So he says, "Ilu ken hayiti omer." If I would have said that, ma prat mefurash is something which is kadosh v'chora. You remember, whenever we don't have the chamor, everything else is going to be kadosh v'chora. Meaning the firstborn of these animals, they're going to be kadosh v'chora. So he says, so therefore he comes and he says, now that it's going to be written, it's different. So ma yesh lecha lavi chamor. So he says, Keshu omer chamor, hare chamor amur. It's already written chamor. Hamani mekayim geneva, darabot kol davar. So yomar geneva v'shor v'seh v'chamor v'chayim v'akol bichlal. Everything is included. So ilu ken hayiti omer, ma prata mefurash b'balei chayim, avkol b'balei chayim. So just like the prat is going to be mefurash in the Torah, they're talking about balei chayim. So too, it's talking about balei chayim. So ma yesh lecha le'avi shar balei chayim. So what are we talking about now? All the other balei chayim. As keshu omer chayim, hare chayim amur. It's already brought down chayim. Hamani mekayim geneva. So what do I need in the word of geneva? Lerabot kol davar, to include everything else. Imimaseti matzeh lamali. So why do I need that imimaseti matzeh? So says the Gemara, right? So shapir kashale. So you have a good question. Mishum diit lepircha, because you have a question. Lerabot kol davar, to include everything. Where are you going to include it? So miklal batra, from the last one where it says chayim, but klal gufe chayim k'tivbe, it's written chayim. So klal ufrat uchlal, ma'ika mahanile. What is it going to help you now? If it's going to come to include kol davar hachayim k'tiv, it's written chayim. Ba'alei chayim yes, midei acharine no. So mishum hachi, because of that, itzrich, you need it. Imimatzeh. What do you need the imimatzeh? You're learning imimatzeh to come and to teach you from the klal ufrat uchlal, anything which is going to be mitaltel, the gufo mamon. Anything which you can move, it's a movable object, and it's money. So says the Gemara, Amri, you have two klalim right beside each other. So therefore, that's not a klal ufrat uchlal. When you have a klal ufrat uchlal, what do? You have a klal, prat, and then you have a klal. Here, you have klal. So that you can't do two klals, right? You cannot put two klals together, and then how does that work? So he says there's no prat in between. It has to be klal, prat, klal. It cannot be klal, and then prat.
But the last klal is on the prat, right?
Yeah, but here the klal though, right? There are two klals together. So if you have two klals together, it doesn't work. No. Klal, prat, it doesn't work. You need klal, prat, klal. So Amar Ravina says, Kirami Marava, Kol makom shata motze shne klalot tzchukim ze b'zeh, hatel haprat benehem. No. According to Bnei Merava, what do? Throw the prat in between them. Vedunam bichlal uprat uchlal. Shadi shor, so throw the shor in between imatzeh. Latu yemai, what is it coming to include? If you're going to tell me that it's coming to include Ba'alei Chayim, we already learned that from Chayim. The truth is, the best way to do this is to take the pasuk. But everyone knows the pasuk. Imi maseti matzeh ganav, mishor ad chamor ad se hayim, shenaim yeshalem. Parashat Mishpatim. Right? So, imi maseh timatzeh. Yeah, imatzeh timatzeh. Those are two clauses. Yeah, imi matzeh timatzeh ganav. Mishor. There's the shore. So the shore is the prat, but that's afterwards. Ad chamor, another prat. Se, another prat. Right? Shor chamor ad se hayim. Hayim, that's the klal. Shenai mishalem. So now, what are we trying to say? We're trying to say, throw the shore in between imatzeh timatzeh. Okay? Now, what are you going to include? Bale chayim. Bale chayim, you already learned from the last word of the pasuk, from chayim. So you're not going to tell me then that you're learning that from the shore. So he says, even if it's not alive. So drosha achi. So let's make a drasha like this. Ma prata mefurash, just like the prat is davar mitatev guvamon, which is something which is tangible, which is movable, and it's money. I've called davar mitatev guvamon. The two shadi, and then also throw chamor between the matzeh and matzeh. What is it coming to include? If it's going to come to include davar she'em ba'alei chayim, so you already learned that from shor. So it has to be davar mesuyam. Davar mesuyam means it has to have something which has a siman, which means there's no chiyuv on kefel if there's no siman. If I'm going to come and I'm going to take, okay, this has a siman. You know where the siman is? That's a siman. Right? But let's say, for example, you're going to take something and there's no siman. I took a pencil.
What's the siman on the shore?
He's got something written on the.
So it has to be a shore that has a siman.
There has to be a siman. Meaning, not only the shore, on anything which is stolen, which you have to pay kefel, there has to be a type of a siman. Because if there's no siman, you don't have to pay kefel.
But usually people used to do siman for the.
They have simanim on everything. You know, even on talitot. On talitot, a lot of people, I have in one of my talit, even though the other one, no, because my talit actually I gave it once to cleaners and they destroyed it. So I just put it in Geniza. Right? But what's it called? The other talit that I had, I wrote my initials. Right? Now, if you're fancy, you come, you embroider it. So I just took a pen. DE. Yeah, that's it. Put my initials. That's a siman.
Dairy equipment.
מה?
Delaware.
מה אתה אומר?
שממיעט על הטלית?
על הטלית, מה הבעיה? איפה כתוב שאסור?
אמרתי שאסור, אבל זה
לא.
No, sure.
No, the truth is I used the regular pen. I didn't even use the sharpie. Where's over to אסור?
במרוקו בדרום.
אני שואל אותך שאלה. שואל אותך
לא
שאלה.
אמרתי שזה אסור.
אוקיי, לא.
לא אמרתי שזה אסור.
לא, ספר. צריך גניזה? גמרא, צריך גניזה?
כן.
צריך גניזה. כן? הטלית. אתה יודע שהטלית, כן, כשמדברים על ציצית, הציציות צריך את הגניזה. הבגד, לא.
נכון.
אז אם מותר לי לכתוב דוד אלמלך,
אבל לא, אמרתי כאילו זה לא, אולי נמחק, אולי זה לא.
לא.
בסדר, ואם דיברת על גניזה, איפה הפינה פה שעשיתם של הגניזה?
אין גניזה פה.
You go to the shore.
זה פה.
So says the Gemara then, it has to be something that has a siman. So ask the Gemara, if so, se lamali. Why do you have the word se? So ella ribau miet ribahu. It's not a klal ufrat uchlal. It's a ribui, miut, viribui. The Tana of Rabbi Ishmael, just like we talked in the economy of Rabbi Ishmael, the Tana of Rabbi Ishmael, it says b'mayim, shte pamim. It says in the water twice. So he says, en ze klal ufrat, ela ribah. So it's not going to be a klal ufrat uchlal. It's a ribui miatu ribui. Ribui hakol, which means that you're going to come, the last ribui is going to include everything. Okay? My Rabbi kol miles, so it's include everything. Everyone understood the difference between klal ufrat uchlal and ribah miatu ribah?
No.
One more time. Are you listening? This is for you. אני אשים אותו בגניזה. תשמע. Right? זה בשבילך. כלל ופרט וכלל is a generalization, specification, generalization. There, כלל ופרט וכלל, אין בכלל על מה שבפרט. Meaning, the fact that you have the prat in the middle, I zoom into the middle. That's the prat. So, just like the prat is ABC, so too it has to be ABC. That's the way that you do a klal ufrat uchlal. Riba, mi'at, riba is ribui, an inclusion. Miut, seclusion or an exclusion, or whatever you want to call it, an exclusion. And then ribui again, an inclusion. When you do the last ribui, includes everything. So now, meaning the exact same concept is two completely different worlds. Because in the ribui, mi'at ribui, the last ribui is including everything. It's including everything. In a sense, it's a completely different world. Yeah? Fine. So says the Gemara, right? So what do we need so many prats then? So one of them is lemute karka, one of them is lemute avadim, one of them is lemute shtarot, and geneva v'chayim is like Rav. Damar achye lekeren ke'en ganav, because he says that we're going to have the keren of the geneva, right? That it's going to be shlema, that it's going to be complete. Okay, that if he's going to come and he's going to steal a behema, and then afterwards chasha, uzla, whatever it is, he's going to have to pay the ken. But according to the mandamar, chad beganav, v'chad betwen tanat ganav. One of them is a ganav, and one of them is a twen tanat ganav. Ganav atzmo nafkale. He learns it from the ganav. Mimimatze ganav. Haimimatze timatze. My dad. So what do you do with the words himatze timatze? So he says mibayle. He needs it like Rava bara ahilai. The Amar Rava bara ahilai. My tamed Rav. What's the reasoning of Rav the Amar that he says amodebi knas hagaba oedim patur? That if a person is going to be modebi knas and then comes witnesses that he's going to be patur, tichtiv imamatze timatze. Imimatze be'edim timatze bedayanim. You're going to find it be'edim, so you're going to find the knas and the dayanim. Prat lemashiach atzmo. This comes to exclude that if a person comes and he's modeh to atzmo, so he's not going to pay the kefel. And according to the mandamar tarvaihu, which means that also by twen tanat ganav, why do I need then imimatze timatze? Mapikle you're going to have atzmo. Mashiach atzmo. How do you know then that the one of you or mashiach atzmecha that you're also going to be patur from the knas? So he says Asher Yarshiyun Elokim Velo Mashiach atzmo. When it says Asher Yarshiyun Elokim, means that he becomes a rasha. Hashem made him into a rasha, not that he made himself into a rasha. But according to the mandamar chab beganav v'chab betwen tanat ganav, that Tilim said that he's learning it from Yimatzeh Timatzeh, right? When it's talking about Mashiach atzmo, Asher Yarshiyun, so what are you making the drasha from Asher Yarshiyun? Amar lecha, he comes and he says Aomi Baile, he learns it from Modeh B'Knas that it's going to be patur. And according to mandamar tarvayu betwen tanat ganav, Kasavar, he holds modeh b'knas v'chag ba'oedim, you're going to be chayav. Okay, and according to the mandamar that he says one of them is b'ganav and one of them is twen tanat ganav, that you're learning from it, right? So he says bishlma imimatze timatze. I understand if it's going to be written imimatze timatze like Rav bara Ilai. So then why do I have all the prats of shor, chamor, se? Why do I have all these things? So he says Tanat v'Yishmael kol parasha shene'emra v'nishnet, any parasha that was said and given over, lo nishnet el davar nichadesh ba, is only going to be for something which is going to be taught in it, like something new. Ve'ima ganav atzmo b'shvua. So why don't I just say we're talking about the ganav for a shvua? So he says lo sal kadaitach. The time was we learned to the Braita. V'Yakov omer shalem yeshalem, shnayim yeshalem, shelo b'shvua. Ta omer shelo b'shvua oeno ela b'shvua. Amarta, you said lo kachaya. This is not the case. My lo kachaya. What does it mean now lo kachaya? So he says Zabaye says lo dichtov rachman shnayim yeshalem beganav. Don't write down shnayim yeshalem by ganav, and learn it by kal v'chomer from twen tanat ganav. Umat twen tanat ganav, just like by twen tanat ganav, the ve'teira tilya dederikim be'ter. Amar kra, the pasuk says li shalem, that it should pay trei. Ganav atzma, the ganav himself, right? The b'isura tilya dederikim to his hands b'isur. Lo kol shken shouldn't be a kol shken. Ela shnayim yeshalem derachmana, but when it says shnayim yeshalem, a ganav atzmo. So why do I need it? That even without the shavua, you still have to pay kefir. Okay, and then we're going to continue tomorrow with the concept of Yimatzeh.